Good morning. It's Wednesday morning. That means it is Breakfast with Bev. So, welcome to our show this morning. I am Bev Curtis with House of Brokers Realty, and I have the pleasure this morning to be here with one of the partners and realtors here at House of Brokers, Jeff Radel.
Oh,
Would you mind kind of introducing yourself,
yeah,
Jeff?
thanks for having me on. So my name's Jeff Radel. I've been with this company for my entire real estate career. I've been in real estate about 31 years, maybe 32 years. I've been a partner at House of Brokers for since 2000. I own 40 some rental units. I've been investing in rental property for, 30-ish plus years. And so whatever experience I have a little bit of it under my belt.
Oh, you have a lot
Yeah,
actually. So, this is our three-part series to basically intro to investing. So, many of us own our own homes or someday would like to,
sure.
and there's a lot more facets to investing in real estate. So, this week we're kind of doing a general overview. Next week, we're going to visit with Nathan Jones, who is an attorney that
Sure.
basically
Sure.
specializes in kind of the legality side of owning real estate and do you put it in a trust? Do you
Sure.
not? All of those type of things.
Sure.
And then the following week, we're going to get a lender's perspective on the
Yeah.
different financing options and what makes sense as far as owning, purchasing, and financing real estate.
Sounds like a good plan.
It is a good plan. I
Yeah.
think it is too. So, where we kind of wanted to start and kind of my background with it is I'm a farm girl. Most of you know that know me. And my family always invested in land. That was one of the things that my dad always said is land is never going to go away. It typically doesn't get cheaper and you need to own some kind of real estate in order to grow some assets, build some wealth and
Hmm.
get ahead in life. And so what better person to talk to than Jeff here is because he's done a little bit of everything. And whether he knows it or not, he's been very inspirational to me through the years because he shared a lot of his knowledge, tidbits, even the lender that he used, that I use, Matt
Yeah.
Williams at Landmark Bank,
Sure.
and got to be in a really good network with that. And so, kind of share with us, Jeff, first of all, how long have you been in real estate investing, would you say?
I probably bought my very first house 30 years ago. And
Wow.
I still own that property. That particular house burnt down and I built a new property there, but I still have that very first house. I've owned, and then I would just acquire as many as I could afford to acquire as quick as I could afford to acquire. A lot of people have a plan of like, I'm going to buy one a year, two a year. I would say, why limit yourself or commit yourself? Buy as many as you can that make sense.
Well, and you're a perfect example because a lot of people that you talk to is like, oh, I can't afford to do that. It's just like, I don't know how to get into
Oh,
that.
you
I'm
can't
like,
afford not to.
that's just it. So, I mean, you've been, a working family, your
Yeah,
wife Terry works, you work,
yeah,
you've got three kids. So during the process of everyday life, you've managed to figure it out how to
yeah.
save up enough money to start with one. And you said, how many do you have now? 40,
I have 42 tenants.
42 tenants. That's a lot of leases and that's a lot of rent collecting and that's a lot of,
That's a lot of cleaning, painting, fixing, managing. Yeah,
yes.
it's a business, and that's So the pros of owning rental property to me is obviously you have a monthly cash flow. You charge the tenant a rent. You have your payment. Hopefully, there's a positive spread for you left over at the end of the month. A little bit longer term is your tenants are buying your house. Every time you make your payment from the rent that you collect, your loan balance goes down, and so at some point your house is paid for, and essentially your tenants have bought that house.
Hmm.
And then long term, that I never even thought about when I started. I think about it now, but I didn't think about it when I started. Was market appreciation. Some of these houses that I've owned for 30 years, bought in the 30, $40,000 price range, are in the 100, 120 price range now. And
That's
I'd have thought,
amazing.
well, I'd have thought you were crazy if
That's just
when I
amazing.
bought those that you'd have said, oh, well, these houses would be in that kind of a price range in 30 years. I mean, you just can't even think that far forward
Right.
to even come up with that. And so that's like the secret right there. And that is really, really now the carrot at the end of the stick is market appreciation. You can build your personal family wealth simply by owning real estate. The trick is you got to do it now. You can't wait.
Hmm. Time is like the big,
sure.
that's the big kahuna on it
So,
all.
so I think we bought our first properties, and I might have been in the 23, 24 year old range. And, so now I'm in my mid 50s, and a lot of our houses are paid for now. The beauty of when they get paid for then is you can sell it, and then you have that money after you pay your, Uncle Sam his part, then that money is yours to do with what you want. You can refinance that property, and then you kind of start all over again, but you draw that cash out kind of tax free, and do whatever you want to do with that money. Uh,
What inspired you at 23 or 24 though? Because
no,
most 23 or 24-year-old kids that I know are just trying to get out of student loan debt and trying to get into their own place. And it's like, what inspired you at
oh,
such a young age?
I have a very definite answer for that. I got my real estate license when I was 22, and realized very quickly that being a real estate agent and essentially self-employed, so this applies to definitely anybody who's self-employed, is you have no
Retirement?
retirement program. And so I thought, okay, that was pretty attractive to listen to some of my friends, and they have jobs and these 401ks, and I'm like, okay, what am I going to do here? It's like, so in order to build some kind of retirement income, you either have to figure out how to save enough money out of your paycheck and invest it smart enough to grow that nest egg.
Mm-hmm.
um, I didn't figure I was that smart to do that. So I said, well, I'm going to buy houses. That's the business I'm in, and I
Mm-hmm.
can kind of do that.
So
And so,
you literally became your own best client in essence.
well, I certainly became one of my clients.
Mm-hmm.
I've got some pretty good customers, but
Mm-hmm.
that helped. But that was how I looked at it's kind of, so real estate investing was my 401k as a self-employed person, something that I could control and manage, and, hopefully, balloon it up to where I had something at the end of the career to live off of.
What would be okay? So what would be a negative? Would you say?
Well,
Because there's lots of pros, but what
there,
would be a con? Would you say?
it's a business. I mean, and you have to run your business. You have to manage your business and run it. You have to, when you have a vacant unit, you have to get it ready for sale, or not sale, but for rent, which means you're either personally there cleaning, painting, fixing, or you're, managing something where you're hiring people to go do that. It's hard to make a very good living at rental property if you're hiring everything done, because that's
Mm-hmm.
part of that cash flow that you're, putting out there. Uh, and you have to find tenants, you have to write leases, you have to, make sure the rent gets paid, make sure the payments get made. And it,
Mm-hmm.
it, it probably takes more time than people think it takes.
To do it correctly, I'm
Yeah.
sure. Okay.
And as one of my bigger customers said, if it was easy, everybody do it. And, it's, a lot of people think, oh, you own these properties and you've got this and that and this and that. But sometimes, when I'm cleaning out a clogged toilet, which is not very glorious, I say, I want to invite you over and you come see how fun and glorious this business is. But,
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, you just do it.
You
And
just wear lots of hats and
yeah,
do what has to be
yeah.
done. So there's lots of different ways to invest. So I mean, there is everything from buying a distressed property and fixing up and selling. There's everything from commercial investment, residential investments, as far as single family, duplexes, condos. There's everything from student housing to apartments. So kind of tell us. So I know you do duplexes. I know you do single family. I know you've done fix and flips. You own farmland. What's your favorite of all of the facets of your investments
Well,
out of those?
before I go into that, there are lots of ways to invest in real estate, and you kind of have to go the direction that interests you. If you're like, you like farms, and I own a couple farms, those are very long-term investments
Mm-hmm.
and don't typically give you any of that monthly cash flow. What you're hoping on the farm is maybe you can get some cash rent for pasture land, row cropping, whatever. But your big payoff, I think, is your market appreciation. But that's a
You just don't have
long-term
to
deal.
go clean a clogged toilet on
Yeah,
on
no,
that.
no, I get it, I get it, I get it.
So
But
that's why it's
but
kind of
it's
like really appealing, when the CRP check comes in the mail.
yeah, but that's a longer term investment.
Right.
Commercial, that's a whole nother animal. And I've not ever ventured into the commercial. My favorite property is a small 2 bedroom, 1 bath, single family home. And people are like, oh, well, why would you want to do that? Why wouldn't you want, fourplexes and, big houses and all? I'm I like that just the everyday guy rental property. Most of my rentals
Hmm.
are in that 500 to 900 price range. I don't want to be the guy that owns a bunch of 1800 dollar rentals. I think that's upper end. I'd be nervous about that if the market ever turned. If people are into that, that's cool. Whatever is your niche.
Hmm.
But the little 2 bedroom, 1 baths are nice. There's always a demand for them. If you've got to go repaint it or clean it, it's only so big. If you have a 4 bedroom, 3 bath,
Hmm.
2 car garage, ranch on a basement, that's a lot of house to go clean and paint.
Not
So
more opportunity for damage or something to happen
yeah,
too, for that
and
matter.
if you have to replace the carpet, there's a lot of carpet there to replace. That's why
Hmm.
I like the small houses. They're just easy to manage. There's always the demand, and they're only so big if you have to fix them up.
Hmm.
And um, I do like single. I own a lot of duplexes, but I do like single families better. Long term, single families are probably going to do better than duplexes, because duplexes and fourplexes, their valuation, Bev, is always going to be a function of the rent. The only
Hmm.
way to make a duplex worth more money is to get more rent,
Hmm.
because they're not going to very often sell to an owner occupier.
Right.
If you buy a decent single family home in a nice neighborhood, and that when you're done owning it, you can make it nice and you can sell it, and some family will buy it, and they'll pay more than an investor will pay.
Hmm. Well, when you're buying your own property to live in, there's that emotional
Oh,
piece that's
absolutely.
involved in it. We see that every day. And as much as you want to kind of prioritize, is it in my budget? Does it meet our financial goals? All of that. At the end of the day, it still is, do I love this home? Does it look good, feel
Yeah.
good? Is the lifestyle there? Is it in the school district I want my kids in? All of that. But when it's a rental property, you're right. Because it's all about doing the math. And really, the deal, especially in the fix and flips, it's all in the buy up front. It's
Yeah.
like if you don't do the math correctly
Yeah.
and buy it
Yeah.
correctly, that's where the profit's
And
made.
see, when I purchase a property, I don't have, I don't know if it's strange or not, but I don't really have any emotional attachment at all.
Right.
I'm just simply making a business decision. Does this house, you know, fit my criteria? Is it in the spot I want to be in it? Be in? Is it the
Hmm.
condition that I can deal with? Is it the price I can deal with? And can I make money at it? If I
Hmm.
can't make money at it, there's no sense doing it.
Do you buy very often properties like at the courthouse steps, like foreclosures and things like that, or do you kind of shy away from those type of
So that's
properties?
always intriguing, because you can look in the paper and you can see there's always going to be 6 or 8 foreclosures coming on the courthouse steps.
Hmm.
I have never had the courage to do that. I did bid on them a couple times. The problem there, Bev, is the risk, and because you don't get to go in that house, you don't know what's going on with that house, as far as systems,
Hmm.
and it is as is, how is, whereas you don't even get title insurance. You get nothing. You get no prorated taxes. You're just buying it.
So there's a
And
bunch of liens or something against it. You
well,
just
yeah,
kind of
because a
acquire it all.
foreclosure sale doesn't necessarily wipe out federal tax liens, and you don't
Hmm.
know that till you get stuck one time. And so I've never had the courage to do that. I know there's guys that do that and do real well with that.
Hmm.
So if I was going to do that, I would always go get a preliminary title report done, and then
Hmm.
check it out. So that's kind of a riskier piece for me. What I have done is I have bought some foreclosures after the sale from the lender that bought them back. So
Oh yeah,
when you go to the courthouse steps,
yeah,
9 times out of 10, the lender buys it back, because they've got all these fees
right.
that they're assessing against the property. And so the number that it sells for at the courthouse steps, you kind of stand there and go, well, I'm not going to pay all that. And then I've approached lenders after the sale, and I think this is where that private mortgage insurance kicks in, Beth. And
Hmm.
then the lender, I've the two that I bought after the sale, I bought them for lower price than I would have had to have paid at the steps,
Oh wow,
and
that's
I
interesting.
got to go in them. I got title insurance, and
Did you get to do an inspection too?
well, you could have.
Okay.
Because you got to go in the house on,
Yep.
on a regular
Yep.
foreclosure sale. You're not
Right.
allowed to go in,
Right.
and it was just a better deal, and it was just a less risky deal. And
Have you bought very many properties like where you did owner financing? Like where the owner
um,
financed a property?
back when I started buying real estate financing rental properties was a little tougher, and I got started with another gentleman named Paul Smith, who's an agent at our office
Uh-huh.
here. And we would buy stuff. We had the bank set up where they would make us a 75 or 80% first mortgage, and we would find deals where the sellers would carry back, a 15 or 20% second mortgage, and close that deal out. And so the cash flow was obviously a little bit
Mm-hmm.
tighter then, but those second mortgages were usually small
Mm-hmm.
and for like 2 or 3 years. And then once that paid off, then your cash flow went jumped right on up to where it needed to be. And so that helped you get into to the properties. So anybody that tells me, oh, I can't buy a rental property because I don't have enough money, yeah, you can structure deals lots of different ways where it doesn't take money.
Especially if you're willing to do a lot of sweat equity and work yourself. I think that that's a big piece of it too, because like you said earlier, if you hire everything out too, it definitely dips into your profit for
Yeah,
sure.
and where that was driven home for me is I had a toilet that was running, and so I had a gentleman go over there and fix that. So he changed out a flapper that cost $3 and charged me $75 for that. And so, but I get it. He had to leave where he was at, go to the house, figure out what the problem was, go to the hardware store, get the piece, come back to the house, install the piece, then go back and drive to wherever he was. And so, he probably had an hour and a half wrapped up in it
Mm-hmm.
for a $3 piece. And so that was the one time I said, somehow I've got to do this myself because I can't afford to pay $75 to change out a $3 piece. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's just kind of when I decided, yeah, you got to just, however it works out, you just have to figure it out and work on, do a lot of your own maintenance.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that you can see there are lots of ways to invest in real estate. You can own all sorts of different types of real estate. I think it's a unanimous thing no matter what you invest in that real estate is definitely something that is typically a good investment if you do your homework, your research and you buy it correctly. I think when you assume things or you get sloppy with it, then obviously it's not going to be the best return or mistakes gets made. And I think that anybody that's invested in real estate, including myself, as you get started into it, you make some errors
Oh
along
no,
the
yeah,
way.
yeah, you may.
I mean, it's don't let anybody kid you that just because you're in real estate, you don't make some
you,
mistakes.
you
Trust me,
you
we
just try
make
not you just try
mistakes.
not to make them over and over.
That's
So
exactly right.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
just like, okay, I'm going to put that one in my little black book that I'm not going to
It's like,
repeat that again.
oh
That was a
yeah,
bad choice.
that
So
didn't work out right. Yeah,
that's
let's not do
right.
that
And
again.
you kind of buy some like, oh, I think maybe I need to sell this
And,
one. This
and,
one does not rent as good as what I thought it did.
and so just a couple more just general comments about investing in real estate. If you look around at the wealthy people in this community in our nation, most everybody has some kind of ties to real estate. And so there's something there that says, real estate is the way to accumulate, your personal wealth. Um, and so and you control it. When I buy a house, I pick the house, I pick what neighborhood it's in, I pick what price I pay, I pick what tenant I put in there, I pick the rent. You have total control over it. Whereas if you invest in a stock or a mutual fund, the best thing you can do is, you pay your money and you buy your stock, and then you can just, hope it goes up. You don't really have any control over what that particular stock does.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, don't get me wrong, I own some stocks too, but it's like I've done way better with investment real estate than I have with anything else.
Well, and I think too, it's the security that if something really does go haywire with the market, at least you do have something. You've got something that's there that you can see, touch,
Yeah,
feel it. And even if the rent rates have to go down, if that means some people can't buy their own home, the rental
yeah,
market's probably going to even get better if the economy goes crazy. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Well, in Columbia, Missouri, your house is never going to go to zero.
No.
I mean, I'm not sure what would ever happen to make your house go to zero, but you have heard of stocks that go to zero, and
Mm-hmm.
you might lose a little bit of money, but you're not going to lose it all. And
Right.
so
Right. So, what other piece of advice would you give our folks? Is there anything else that comes to mind?
just remember, it is a job, and that it's maybe more glamorous looking from the outside looking in, but you can do real well with it, and you can manage it yourself. You don't have to be an extremely intelligent person, which I'm certainly not an extremely intelligent person. And but
You're
you
very street smart.
well, but what you do with investment property is you just control your own business. You can kind of create your own little business and your own wealth, and it's just something you can do, and and you can do it as a part-time. You can have a job wherever you have a job, and you can own real estate on the side because you don't work, 24/7 at most jobs. So you got nights, weekends, so you can help improve your property. I think if you really want to get ahead in life, it's what we talked about earlier. It's your daytime job is what pays for your life. It's what you do beyond your day job is what creates your wealth. And I think that is absolutely true. And so,
yeah, I think that's totally true. And that's what my parents years ago said. It's like, whatever you do, kids, and they use the word strap, which is kind of a bizarre word, but I remember my mom saying, you got to strap yourself to something that's real estate related that you're going to have so that you got something, at the end. And so it's kind of bizarre. So I think what the moral of the story she's saying is commit yourself and focus to something that is real estate related, that's going to hopefully grow, build, and, create some wealth at the end.
That is just paramount good advice. I mean, that's,
yeah. So anyway, my parents would be proud to know that I have strapped myself to real estate.
Oh, good deal. Yeah.
So, okay. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for joining me this morning. And
Appreciate
as you guys can see, he is a wealth of information on all facets. And he's got a great investor group that follows him because he finds properties and sniffs them out for all sorts of investors around town. And he's just got a very good handle on it. And that's why I knew that you were the perfect person to kind of kick us off on our investment series. So thank you very much for tuning in. And we appreciate your time and hope that you found it to be enjoyable and helpful. And we will see you next week on basically the legality side of it with Nathan Jones as far as protecting your assets and setting it up legal wise so that it's a good, safe investment. And if something ever happened to you, your heirs would basically reap the benefit of your fruits of your labor. So thanks again. Hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next week.